What's up, y'all? And finally, welcome to the Apple Tree Podcast. On this week's episode, I got a chance to sit and talk with my childhood brothers, Terrence Mathis and Zach Woods, about their experiences as law enforcement officers. So this means we're hitting on amounts of police discretion, why some people just shouldn't be officers, and why be an officer as a black man. I'm beyond excited, so hey, let's get into it. I mean, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, that'd be nice too.
You just introduced us, didn't you?
Nah. So give me your name, maybe a little bit of education, some training or whatever specifics.
Some training.
Yeah. I mean, because
for those people who don't know me, my name's Terrence Mathis. I'm currently a law enforcement officer.
Wow.
In a city near or far from you. I've been a police officer about 2 years now. I went to Florida State, got my bachelor's in criminology, and then I went to the Law Enforcement Academy in 2014 at the Tallahassee Community College.
Dope. Zach.
All right, yeah. So I'm Zach Woods, a former law enforcement officer. So basically, straight out of high school, I went to police academy at Tallahassee Community College. Served 6 years as a patrolman and as a traffic homicide investigator, and later as a part-time reserve FTO with another agency. I have a degree in business and a degree in nursing. Currently, I'm working as a reserve officer in the state of Florida.
You know, I had no idea you went straight out of high school.
Straight out of high school at the age of 18, I was a police officer, and I couldn't, of course, become an officer until I turned 19. So I had to wait to take the state board and all
behind
that.
your ears.
I was still wet, man, but I was on it.
I didn't know that, bro.
Yep. Straight out of high school, like graduated in May, went to police academy in July.
So when did you decide that you was gonna do that?
So I was in high school, and I either wanted to become a police officer or a doctor, believe it or not.
Wow.
And of course, when you're in high school, you're so ready to get out of high school. And I was like, I'm going to do something quick and easy where I can make a little bit more money than I was making at the time working at Pizza Hut.
Wow.
So so I went to police academy.
That's dope. When did you figure it out, Terrence?
Well, I kind of stumbled upon my career in law enforcement. I really didn't want to be a police officer.
But what did you get your degree in?
Well, criminology and information technology. Okay. And so I kind of wanted to do like the behind the scenes, like cybercrime analysis, stuff like that, or crime scene investigating.
Okay.
That's what I really originally wanted to do while I got into law enforcement. But once I graduated and I went to the academy, got my law enforcement certificate, like that was between the time where, a lot of the different shootings and killings were going on.
All right.
And so that kind of, changed my path as well again. And so I was working as a counselor for, a year and a half, and I kind of stumbled upon a Instagram post with someone on Instagram, believe it or not, and she was a police officer in Atlanta, and it kind of like changed the narrative of black police officers. She was a black female, and she used to talk about her life as a police officer, how positive it was, and trying to change the narrative of a police officer and stuff like that. So that kind of inspired me to go ahead and go into the law enforcement.
Wow.
So.
But before that point, you didn't really have like that plan in your mind like that.
Nah, I really didn't. Like I said, I really didn't want to become a police officer, like a patrol officer.
Yeah.
Like on the street and going to people's houses, pulling people over, stuff like that.
You want to think about that?
I always was interested in law enforcement, but it was like on a grander scale, like federal law enforcement.
Okay.
Like stuff like that, like
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it's crazy that you say that because like I put this on my Instagram recently that I went to a panel discussion last week, and it was a panel discussion. It's supposed to be like a female panel discussion, but it had 4 different people up on the podium, and they were talking about like their rise to like whatever their positions were at the time. And one of the ladies up there was like she's the next CEO of our company. And I thought it was interesting that like they talked about their story and how they got to where they are. And the biggest thing that they talked about was opportunity. And so what always made me curious was like how sometimes we get to a point where we think if we lay out like our 5-year plan or like our goals or whatever, and like we follow it step by step, that'll get us to where we want to go. But like sometimes opportunity presents itself. Right. And so like the lady who's going to be the next CEO of our company, like she never planned out to be the CEO. And she was like, she just kind of took opportunities as they came, did what she thought she was good at, kind of like listened to her heart a little bit. And like now she's like the freaking highest position in our company. Now she'll be running a $60 billion company in 3 months.
Right.
A woman.
Wow.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And like, I feel like sometimes I've even kind of steered away from opportunities because I thought I was on the track of where I was supposed to be headed. But then people like
it's not where you wanted to go exactly, but
right. Or like not where I thought. I mean, because like you don't really know what opportunities are going to lead you to like your goal. You don't know.
I got you.
And so sometimes you see an Instagram post, and you know what I'm saying. Now you know what I'm saying. Now you sit with the feds. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Okay. Is there anything that you like? You think you might have done differently with your process? I guess either one of y'all can answer that question, but like between, what I'm saying, deciding what you kind of wanted to go towards and then like where you are now, is there anything that you think you would have done differently if you could go back to that time? You
mean in regards to being in law enforcement?
Yeah.
Or, no, not really, because I feel like everything is, falling into place right now. Because the agency I'm with now, it's like one of the only agencies I know of in the country that trains their police officers, their patrol officers, to become crime scene detectives.
Oh, like intentionally they do that?
Right.
Wow.
Well, not intentionally, but if you have to, apply for it and, go through the process or whatever.
Oh, they just offer it to you?
No, they don't just offer it to you, but you can transition into that,
I get you.
that field, into that branch, whatever, and within the agency. So because most agencies, crime scene investigators, they pull them from a third party. So they have like degrees in like chemistry or something like that, or something different. But the one I'm at now, they actually train their own policemen, patrol, to become that
that's dope.
Fill that area. So that's my plans now, to actually transition to the crime scene.
Right.
Detective.
Collect some more coins.
Right.
Let's do that. What about you, Zach?
All right. So starting out like in elementary school, I can recall I've always was interested in like being what was called a safety patrol. I'm not sure if there's
hall monitors.
Right. I'm not sure if they're still around now or whatever. But I was always in. I can recall since 4th grade, I was always involved in stuff like that, and of course, got involved in student government and things like that. And once I got in middle school and high school, I got involved in students working against tobacco. So I was always the person who was SWAT and all those type of extracurricular activities. But
just in a dare shirt yesterday.
The dare, right? Some of them dare shirts we used to wear.
Yeah, dare and all that.
So
I was always interested in like those type of programs in school. So I knew I was veered towards becoming a police officer upon graduating from high school. But if I could change anything, I probably wouldn't. I probably would have
same way
continued on that pathway and continued to become a police officer. I believe I learned a lot of valuable lessons as far as discipline, as far as learning the law, being able to interpret the law to a certain extent, being able to give advice to my peers and others who didn't follow the same pathway that I followed. People would be I think they would be shocked and surprised to learn that A lot of my friends who I grew up with didn't become police officers. You know, majority of them, of them didn't graduate from high school. You know, and if they did graduate from high school, majority of them went to prison.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I was the one who grew up amongst those, but decided to take a different path.
Yeah.
But I believe it has made all the difference in the world. And I think about how at the time I thought I was making a whole lot of money, and while patrolling the streets, and and being that one who can show up at someone's residence and be and have that discretion to take them to jail, and just ruin their family at that given time. You know what I mean? But that's a lot for a 19-year-old on the street. A lot of responsibility, right? To have that much discretion. But I learned a lot. Learned how to respect people. Learned how to converse with people. How to approach people at their level, on their level. But there's nothing that I wouldn't change anything. It definitely provided some valuable life lessons for me.
That's dope, man. I mean, like, I think you mentioned like a few good solid things. I mean, I've known both of you for a good amount of time. I think you're both mild mannered, respectable men, and so it is interesting that you mentioned that at that point, and with that, some people say that with power comes responsibility. And I think that holding that much power, I think both of you do a good job of taking on that responsibility. And probably I prefer you two than like some other like ducks, because I feel like, like all of us we have the ability to kind of just fall into some professions. And I feel like that doesn't exclude law enforcement. I feel like some people can fall into law enforcement, might be like a last resort for them or whatever, whatever it is. And they can just kind of end up there. And so to have that amount of power and discretion doing something that you don't necessarily want to do can be frightening to most.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Do y'all have any like experiences with people that you think kind of
Yeah,
fall
it's a
into that
lot
category?
of officers like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
like play football, like
either play football or came from the military or whatever, and once they got in the military, they really didn't have anywhere else to go or any type of education to get into like different fields, so they resort to policing, and a lot of my colleagues now, I see a lot of them are basically like quote unquote cynical. They always complaining about the job and stuff like that, and not really when they go to someone homes or interact with a citizen, they aren't as respectful as they could be, and so I see that a lot. And a lot of people. It's
kind of like them, like McDonald's employees,
right?
Like you ask them ketchup and they got an attitude like if they ketchup. So like they don't want to be here. Like, bro, like if you don't want to be here, do something else, bro. Because like you impacting other people's lives.
Right. Yeah.
And with law enforcement, like we really impacting other people's lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen that not only in law enforcement but also in corrections as well. During my time, I served as a nurse in the state prison system, where they're not really looking for those that want to be police officers or those that want to be correctional officers. Yeah. Ultimately, they're just looking for ones to fill boots, ones to fill shifts, and I believe that is a major issue in today's society with law enforcement and who's patrolling the streets. These people are not there. These officers are not there because they have a desire to be a police officer.
They're just there to get a check.
Yeah, they're just there to get a check. It's a job. It's not a career. It's not a profession. Wow. It's just something that they're doing to sustain and to make it, what I mean?
Just to get by and survive, whatever. That's frightening. That's right. I mean, I guess it's cool when you're just dealing with French fries,
right?
But y'all carry weapons, right?
Carry weapons,
right? And that's scary. That's also scary when you're like a new police officer. You're a freshman police officer, and say you have an FTO who's like one of those guys. He's like everything he says is negative. He's like teaching you like the wrong way to go. So when you're a new person,
Wait, what's the FTO? Clarify real quick.
Field training officer.
Okay.
Right. So you're a new person. You're going to be, when you first come in, you're going to think that's how the way, to handle the job, how to treat people, how to do things. And so when I see people like that, I just try to stay away from them, clear, because I know like my morals and my, my values, stuff like that. I try not to be sucked into, that type of I guess rhetoric or way of thinking.
Wow, that's kind of scary, bro. I don't think like so. I feel like when we talk about jobs that are like high stress and like really sensitive, I think the level of fear should be taken into consideration. Level of comfortability should be taken into consideration. So, for example, I guess it's kind of off topic, but like there's a series of like surgical robots that have like come to the industry. They're called the Da Vinci robots, and so a lot of problems that they're having with these is that by per the manual, you're supposed to have like a certain amount of practices with these machines before you like use them to perform surgery on an individual. But since like you involve like politics and like outside influences, doctors are forced to use them a lot sooner than they should. And so when we talk about fear and comfortability, I feel like as a law enforcement officer, you probably shouldn't be released alone into the field until you're courageous enough to know how to handle your weapon in your position, until you're comfortable enough to know how to handle your weapon in your position, so that you can better serve the community. And I feel like a lot of times that's not the case.
Absolutely, that is definitely not the case, and I'm sure. I mean, the news itself will tell you that that's not the case. Because I'm sure Terrence can elaborate on this as well. I'm not a tall guy, and I weigh a lot more than what I weighed at the age of 19 now. But what I'm saying is, I worked for a very small agency. I was the only officer on shift. When I first started out at 19, I worked the overnight shift. And I was the only officer on shift responding to calls. And this was not a low crime area.
Overnight?
Overnight. Yes, it was only of a community of about 3,000 people. However, majority of those, there were real life situations going on. Not to say too much.
Absolutely.
But, I was here. I am 5'5", and I'm showing up. What's the problem? I'm the officer on duty tonight.
And you're the guy.
It's all about what's called verbal judo. How do you talk to someone? How do you de-escalate the situation without using everything on your belt?
Right.
And ultimately, if you are able to de-escalate the situation, hey, that can be a matter of life and death in the suspect. You know what I'm saying? If you approach a person in a professional manner and you're able to de-escalate that situation, that's a lot better than, hey, I had to pepper spray him, use my aspartame, and tase him.
Right. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because
niggas be scared, bro.
For the first 4 years of my law enforcement career, we didn't have tasers.
Word?
Yeah, and one of the last agencies I ended with, they just got tasers like 2 years ago.
So what'd you have?
So you had your mouth, first of all.
Your mouth,
your voice,
verbal
hands.
skills, your voice, your commands, your verbal commands. I've never used an aspartame on anyone, but I pepper spray you. But but if you can talk to someone, and I think that's an issue, especially with a lot of these younger officers that are coming out right now. They have no command presence. They have no communication skills.
Nice.
They don't know how to approach anyone. How can you approach someone if you've never dealt with a situation yourself outside of law enforcement?
Right.
If you in high school, if you've never had to stand your ground. Yeah. So now here you are the man of authority on the scene now, and you show up, and if I tell you to do something, I expect you to do it, and if you don't do it, I'm going to shoot you because I have the authority to escalate
and the discretion
to escalate, and I don't have to retreat because the law says I don't. That's the issue we have in today's society.
Wow, bro, you just said
because in the academy they teach you to, I guess, like he was saying,
like verbally
not verbally, command presence.
Okay,
command presence. Yeah, when you show up.
Right. They could teach you to command presence, so they really don't. They really talk about more tactical advances than more than like communication skills, stuff like that. So I think they probably should focus more on, like you said, talking people down, verbal judo, learning to speak with one another. Because like he said, me and him, we're small people, we're 5'5". So if we get there and someone sees our height, they may try to use it as an advantage of,
Absolutely.
this little person here, he can't do me anything. He
Right.
can't tell me what to do. And so I think
It
that's
sounds like it comes down to like a training situation in terms of like, how they process you guys to finally be, an officer of the law. But I can imagine if you take like a high school person that is bullied, and let's say they nobly want to, stand up for people like themselves, and they decide to go to the police academy and they want to ultimately be an officer. I would be an advocate for them to do so, but not until they receive that training that I feel like you guys are talking about. Because I feel like people who are typically like that don't have the solid social skills or even confidence to command that type of position, right? Which I feel like it should be a prerequisite.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's not, and I understand that not everybody wants to be a law enforcement officer, and we need law enforcement officers. And so I can see how maybe I don't know who would hire you guys. Y'all have a hiring manager? Is that how that works in law enforcement? Like you have a hiring manager?
Well, you go through different departments have different
Like processes?
processes. I would say like oral boards.
yeah, we have like recruiters basically.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. But I would be understanding if one of those guys was in a position where they needed officers and they didn't feel like they had enough quality officers applying for the job. You know what I'm saying? And then you might end up succumbing to like hiring someone that just isn't qualified but wants the job or is willing to do the job. And then that's how you would end up with officers who are fearful and who end up killing folks for, sneezing.
Because a lot of agencies now are short of manpower.
Yeah.
Because the climate we're in, a lot of people don't want to be police officers. So I know where I'm working now, we're like always short people every night. So they're pushing out more officers, but they can't train those officers as fast as we need them.
Right.
And so with needing more people, then those bad apples are going to get pushed through every now and then,
Absolutely.
without actually vetting them, I guess good enough, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think he meant pushed out the door.
No.
Not pushed,
Pushed through the process.
Push through the academy.
Through the academy and through the FTO process as well. They graduate graduate FTO process. But we have to applaud those that do, get pushed through the FTO process and go and work the streets for a month or two and realize this is not for me. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's not for you, you need to be the first one out. I
respect that decision.
Yeah, definitely
Please.
Applaud those.
Do us all a favor.
Because it's not for everyone. This academy stuff is blue guns that can't fire. All this is just for show in the academy. You know what I'm saying? And you progress a little bit more, and you're still given a limited amount of authority when you're with the FTO. You know what I'm saying? You still have to work in collaboration with the person that's training you when making decisions, because ultimately he's your immediate supervisor at the time.
Wow. So what I want to kind of get into now is that, like, you kind of mentioned before that it seems like less people want to be officers. And that might be a relative statement, but times are sensitive at the time. You know what I'm saying? Right now, it's like a lot is going on. And since we have so much more media play, i.e. cell phones and Instagram and all that stuff, you see a lot more. And so people seem to be a lot more hesitant to engage in law enforcement. So, but the two of you have still decided to do it. Like regardless, you know what I'm saying? And as black men, I'll say that first. I can imagine how people of our own kind will look at you, as black men, as law enforcement officers, and be like, what you doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? But you guys still made a decision to go through. I mean, like, why?
I mean, I feel like if you want to see a change, you got to be the change.
How?
I mean, I think we just have to create a new narrative of between the black community and police officers. If we're always complaining about how Caucasian police officers treat our community, handle our community, then we can't really complain if not enough black officers are applying to be a police officer and trying to work in those areas and, be the change. If you come to, a black family and their demeanor, you can relate to, some of the things they're going through because you may have gone through that when you was younger as well. If a white police officer come there, they may see them as just, someone who has a criminal record. They won't see them as who they really are, something like that. So that's what my thing was, and also because I didn't want to be fearful. That's another reason why I didn't want to become a police officer before, because I was, fearful of the unknown, of risking my life and stuff like that. But
it's a whole lot,
right?
Of that.
So
true that. What about you, Zach?
Well, I think about it like that. Complaining about a problem without a solution is simply whining.
Whining.
So quit whining. Why we want to continue to whine? What are we doing to solve the problem? And I think about that all the time, not only in law enforcement, but in other professions as well.
Yeah.
If we're concerned about there not being enough African Americans in law enforcement, go to school and become a law enforcement officer if that's something
you can
want
do
to
that.
Do you have a family member who's interested in law enforcement, interested in law, who's interested in law but don't want to go to law school? Maybe law enforcement is another area that they can go into.
Right.
If you're concerned about there not being enough black physicians,
Pow.
go to school and become a doctor. You know what I mean? Quit whining about those things that we can change. What is the solution? I mean, if you just continue to state that there's a problem, complaining about a problem, if you don't have a solution, stop whining.
Don't want to hear it no more.
Right.
I feel you on that, bro. Because I mean, I'm not law enforcement, but so like, for example, when I was doing personal training a lot more often, it's annoying to have like those associates and friends that complain about like their weight or their health status. And then like when you suggest to do something about it, you know what I'm saying, they get real quiet. It's like, bro, if you're not going to do nothing, I don't want to hear about it no more. Straight up. Because then it gets annoying.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So I can understand that. I'm curious to know if y'all ever have like situations, because I mean, I'm kind of assuming, but like, I feel like most of y'all's department or like your coworkers is still a predominantly white oriented space. Is that true?
Yeah.
So you ever come into situations where you might be like with one of your coworkers and they may like say something or do something that you feel that you might like interpret differently if it's regarding like a I guess like a black suspect or a person or a citizen or whatever. Has that ever happened? Where like maybe like they'll say something and you like, nah, he was just kind of just minding his own business. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that happens. I can recall a time when I had a Caucasian male pulled over for a very similar regardless of the reason why he was pulled over, he had the same amount of drugs on him as an African American male I pulled over the night before, in which he went to jail. The African American male went to jail, of course. It was like he had, I believe, like a pound of marijuana on him.
Wow.
So I ended up stopping a Caucasian male. I believe the next night he had the same amount on him, and instead of my supervisor supporting me in my decision to arrest him as well.
Okay.
He was attempting to argue, my supervisor, white male at the time, was attempting to get me to issue him what's called a notice to appear.
So let him go, but he got to
let him go, but he has to show up in court.
Wow.
So of course that didn't fly with me because that wouldn't have been fair.
Absolutely not.
But those type of things do happen, but that wasn't the only situation that has occurred during my full-time stint as a law enforcement officer. But those things do happen. It's almost as if there's need for continuous training and racial I guess ensure that equal justice is carried out amongst everyone.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yep.
That's rough. So what I'm thinking about now is like, as a law enforcement officer, you also have a chain of command. You know what I'm saying? Like you have people above you who seem to have more power than you. And so like I'm sure both of you, you know, you try to, you know, push your influence as much as you can, but they probably only go so far. You know, like we talked about earlier, like once they get to court, like it's up to the judge and the jury.
Yep.
Right. And you know what I'm saying? You might be able to get them there, but you know, once they there, you know, it's kind of on them. And so, yeah, I just think about like coworkers, you know, who might not understand some of the like cultural things that you know you all are familiar with, and you know might be fearful, you know, because they don't really get it, or they don't understand, or they can't relate. So like, what kind of influence or like things that you know might y'all do to kind of combat those issues? Like, have you ever like had like direct conversations with white coworkers? Have you ever maybe like got into heated arguments or anything like that?
All right. So, repeat the question for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand the question.
I'm just trying to figure, like, have you ever had situations where you might have had to like pull a white coworker to the side and like talk to him, or like, you know, speak about any like injustices or unequal like actions that they may have taken with like a suspect or a citizen?
Me personally, no, I haven't.
No?
I haven't.
How about you, Zach?
No, I've never actually pulled anyone to the side and discussed it, but of course I've paid attention to the arrests that have been made and the jurisdiction, because we were like an open city. You can go anywhere within the city and patrol as long as you respond to calls. I mean, but yeah, there have been times when I felt like these officers were not making arrests on Caucasians. You know, all of his arrests were African Americans,
Right.
and they were all those with either dreadlocks or gold teeth.
Of course. They
Yeah.
fit that description.
Right.
That sounds like the template.
My problem is not necessarily the arrest, but the reasons why they stopped a certain individual. I feel like most of the times they just stop. Well, say if they see them as a suspicious person or whatever. Most of the times they stop someone of being suspicious is someone of you know, African American descent, or black male, something like that. Some things that I wouldn't, you know, deem as suspicious, you know,
Right.
because it's in our culture, it seems that's normal.
You've seen it.
Yeah,
it's
like
not a big deal.
For example, you know, go to a corner store in the black community, whatever. You're gonna see people standing outside the corner store, just hanging around. That's just what they do.
Out there chilling.
I don't know why we do it. We just do it.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And a lot of Caucasian officers, they see that as a reason to, you know, pull someone over or you know,
ask for questions,
ask for their ID or why they're standing out here, stuff like that. So that's what.
I call it loitering, right?
Yeah, it could be.
And that's where cultural diversity training and things like that come into play. You know, if a person was trained, if there was some type of cultural diversity training going on, those Caucasian officers will realize and recognize that, hey, that's their culture. All that is cultural. You know, that's just what they do.
Right.
You know, we're not going to stop that by continuously to harass them. Well, all we're going to do is piss them off.
Right.
You know, and all we're going to do is seems like we're the bad guy, because what law enforcement officers need to recognize is that not all black teenagers are thugs.
Facts.
Not everyone who wears dreads are gangsters.
Facts.
You know, and the fact that I have gold teeth don't make me a bad guy.
Big
No,
facts.
it's just fashion. You know, and the same with Caucasian population. Not everyone who wears a business suit is a businessman.
Hello. Right.
You know, he's probably the main one that's trafficking dope.
Boy,
So you know, it's all about culture. It's all about, you know, what have we investigated before we actually move in. You know what I'm saying? Is my stop reasonable? Is it justified? You know, what do I have? Do I just have it appears that he was drifting he was drifting over to the right of the center lane or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
What other elements do you have there?
Right.
You
That's
know?
crazy. Culture is a big deal, man. And I was so the director of Black Panther, Ryan Coogler, he before he did Black Panther, he toured parts of South Africa just to kind of get like a feel for like their culture and like the things that they do, so that he could basically put it in the movie. And one of the things that he found out when he was there, and he did an interview that I listened to, is that one of the cultural things that I guess, I don't know if this is all African tribes, but there was a South African tribe that specifically they would tell their young, like the youth of their tribe or like their family, to like stand out in front of the house. You know what I'm saying? Like they like it was intentional. And so the point of them to do that was basically to like, if anybody rides by, it was a symbol of like wealth and like health for that family. You know what I'm saying? To like show that like we're strong, we're here. You know what I'm saying? Not to like do anything to anybody, but it was like a symbol. You know what I'm saying? It was like it was a pride thing. And to kind of like imagine that being something of like a criminal relation is crazy, right? You know, you think about it in that aspect. And then I guess it's even more interesting to think about like practices that we do that seem to be like in our DNA almost. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't really have we no longer have direct connections to these African tribes, but that's where we come from. And then we do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so I find that to be kind of interesting. Another thing I think I want to talk about, and I think we wouldn't do this conversation justice without speaking about it, is like the level of brutality. And I think that my interactions with law enforcement, and we kind of talked about this earlier, like when you're trying to arrest an individual or detain an individual, sometimes you have to use force. And we talked about earlier that you can't halfway use force. You know what I'm saying? You have to be decisive about what you about to do and carry it out. And obviously sometimes that seems to go overboard, when you're looking at videos that might be posted on Instagram. A lot of times, we are getting segments of the story and like what actually went down when we watch it.
I'm glad you said that.
Right. I mean, because that's important to say, because you don't know what happened before or even after. But nonetheless, it seems excessive, and it seems like sometimes it goes too far, which I'm sure sometimes it does go too far. But if you all could just kind of touch on, what your thoughts are on that. I don't know if you have any, Terrence.
Well, I think people should be more aware of their laws.
Okay.
So, because in law enforcement, I mean, if you're looking at a video and you see someone, getting hit or beat or anything like that, you may see the person looking in, they may think that's excessive, right, or against the law. But in reality, in the world of law enforcement, it's really not. It's all justified,
right?
Because we can. A lot of my supervisors tell us like all the time that you can punch somebody in the mouth
straight up.
We can do that.
Wow.
And so I just feel like people just need to know their laws and what we can and can't do, because I don't know. Because
I mean, you make a good point. I mean, because it's easy to be ignorant about things and just complain when we feel like things ain't going our way. And I get that, and I think education is going to be the difference when it comes to figuring out what's right and what's not. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us aren't. I mean, even myself, and not educated on like what's lawfully okay and what isn't. What are your thoughts, Doug?
So, Terrence mentioned it. So, and you mentioned it as well. Ignorance of the law is not a defense.
Right. It's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse, right? The fact that you don't know the law doesn't release you from liability.
Big facts.
It does not release you from liability. I didn't know. Yeah. Well, you should have known. Everybody, I think if you stay in school long enough, you take government, right? And they do it, at least give you those introduce you to the Constitution and what's in it. You know what I mean? And state law is your responsibility as well. That is taught in grade school. So I believe a lot of it does boil down to ignorance. And all of these video posts and things on social media, it can get ridiculous at times. Honestly, I just hate watching it sometimes because in some of the cases, law enforcement is justified in tasing your loved one who's on the ground, who's still actively resisting, and you hear the law enforcement officer saying, "Stop resisting," and they continue to resist. Yeah. The moment you stop resisting, I can go ahead and get you detained, go ahead and get you in the back of the car. But once you continue to do all that and you get all worked up and, unfortunately other things may result in worse complications or injury or whatever. It's all because you were actively resisting and the officer was telling you to stop resisting, giving you verbal commands, what he's trained to do to try to de-escalate the situation, get it under control, but you're steadily resisting. Doing foolishness. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of that, I think people need to like stop posting that stuff and get a clear understanding and, just make sense of what it is that's going on. And now on the other hand, there are those that, are justified, are not justified in their use of force. Their use of force.
We was talking about this earlier, how manners can go a long way.
Manners, manners. This is a big fact. This is a big fact, man. And like when we do post those things online, it's almost like you're giving the world the impression that they are judge and jury, of a case, because we see our little 15-second video and we make up our mind about who was right and who was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Who should go to jail? God forbid it's a black and white situation because that's what it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times it's not that. Sometimes it is. Right. I strongly believe it is, but not all the time. And I think one of the things that we fail to acknowledge is that at the end of the day, you all do have families too, and you kind of want to go back home and see them when you're done with work. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes you are in a position where you might feel like you need to protect yourself from whatever is going on, which I completely understand. And so if we can educate some folks, what's the term? It's like necessary force. Is that the right term? Like
reasonable force.
Reasonable force. Like how do we define that? Is that like a case by case?
So the exact wording, I don't know the exact wording of it, but basically the law provides that a law enforcement officer can escalate one level above a suspect's resistance level. Something like that. Resistant matrix chart or something like that from way back in 2005 when I went to police academy. But so basically, if a man is using his fist to like swing at me, I can pull out an aspeton.
One up.
You know what I'm saying? Right. If he has an aspeton, I can pull out a gun.
Wow, I did not know that.
Or a taser would be. Or I don't know if they're on the same level or whatever. But, and if he, God forbid, if he has a knife, I also can shoot him. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the law enforcement officer is trying to go home. Yeah, we got to go home. And if it's my life or your life, it's always going to be your life that's going to end, not mine. Because I'm here to do a job, and obviously I'm here for a reason. Yeah. If I'm dealing with you, and if you feel that you're going to come after me with a knife or present in that manner, so that's some education that we can give to the people. Know that, law enforcement can always escalate. And another thing is important and pertinent to mention is that law enforcement doesn't have to retreat. Okay. They do everything that's reasonably necessary to effect an arrest.
And do their job.
Right.
To effect all the way through. An arrest.
Wow.
Right.
Because we don't stop.
I don't think you've ever seen a law enforcement officer.
You can't retreat.
Right. I don't think you've ever seen a law enforcement officer say, hey, you finna go to jail, and the suspect turns around and says, no, I ain't start. Okay, well, I'm not going to take you to jail. I'm going to, no, you're going to jail.
So they basically just making it worse for themselves.
Exactly.
Wow. I had no idea. Because, well, first of all, I didn't know. I guess common sense would tell you that there are levels, right? Whereas, if you just fist fighting and then somebody pulls out a knife or somebody pulls out a gun, there are levels, and I guess it does make common sense that if, as a police officer, if someone is coming at you with a certain, I guess, level of force, to effectively diminish that situation, you would need to go one level up,
right?
To confirm or, I guess, make solid whatever you're trying to do. That's some good info, bro. I appreciate that. What would you all say is like the most common situation when it comes to like escalating, I guess, your level of force to subdue a suspect?
You mean the type of force we use?
Like, yeah, like most common, like, are you usually just good with your hands, or like, do you have to like? Well, you say you never use your,
mainly it's just hands on.
Okay.
Cause I don't even use carry my baton
Okay.
because there's too much on my belt.
Yeah.
So basically I just go hands on. What you know.
Hello.
Basically.
You say you got some golden gloves over there. That's what you're trying to say right now, bro. Don't run up on my dog.
And if you read into what he's saying,
Yeah.
if you don't have the hands-on skills,
Hello.
guess
Maybe
what?
you need to be.
Guess what those officers are doing? You know what I'm saying?
That's a
those are the
strong
officers
point.
that don't have those skills. You know, if I don't have
That's
the
a real
verbal
good
skills, and if I can't put my hand on you to detain you,
Right. To get it
you know,
done.
guess what? These officers
the
are
next thing
going
up.
straight to tasing people that's just presenting with verbal.
Right.
You
Because
know,
they know they can't.
You know, I haven't even tried to like escalate from verbal to put hands on.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying? They're going straight to pow.
Right.
Or, you know, that's
a good point.
the issue, man. That's just got a bunch of weak officers.
Yikes. Well, what's the solution, man? I don't know, like, because I agree with you, 100%, man. But it just seems like you have what you have. Like, do you think the process should be more selective? I know y'all come from two different departments or whatever. And
I mean, it is selective, but you don't know what you're gonna do in that situation until you get into that situation.
Yeah,
you know?
you're right. Training is one thing.
Yeah, you could point a blue gun at a cardboard box all day, but once
is that what y'all use?
yeah, dummies, cardboard boxes, whatever.
Yeah.
But once you face to face with another human
being
who's not listening to your commands, stuff like that, your lawful commands.
Yeah.
And hey, more than one time, you just repeating yourself. Then at some point you have to react. You have to do something.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't know what to do, and so they resort to deadly force. So if they feel threatened or anything like that,
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the best outcome.
And so I guess that's where like the recurring evaluations would come into play that we kind of talked about earlier. But I mean, if you're typically on your own, outside of those evaluations that happen, I guess, some type of periodically, like how else would a law enforcement officer be managed?
They're pretty much not.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why they're going to
like the body
cams now.
Yeah.
But what people don't know is body cams is going to take away the officer's discretion.
Okay.
So, if I pull you over and I decide not to give you a ticket, whatever, okay, and I don't have a body cam on, I just decide for whatever reason I don't give you a ticket. I'm being nice that day. Okay. If I pull you over, I have a body cam on, then most likely I'm going to give you that ticket.
Now you're being micromanaged, kind of.
Right. Because your supervisor's going to come, hey, why you didn't give this person this ticket?
Right, and you got to explain.
Right. So that's just going to give the, that person who wasn't going to get the ticket before, now they're going to get more tickets and more, it's just going to cause, turmoil.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
So they work for and against you.
Right.
Yeah.
Those body cameras work for and against you.
Who's watching all that footage?
And the suspects as well, you know what I mean?
Right.
Don't try to take it to trial. You forget,
yeah.
Let's introduce this
Exhibit A.
right here. Right. Go ahead and plead guilty.
Dang.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with the officer. Don't you get up there and purge yourself either. Let's go ahead and introduce it. See, it works. It works on both sides,
Right.
As far as that, but as far as management is concerned, in addition to the cameras, officers have tracking devices on their cars. They can see where the cars are.
I didn't know that.
Some do.
Some do.
like when your Uber's on the way? Like you can kind of see
I don't
where your
think
Uber
it's like
is?
that.
They can is it like a map they can pull up and they can see where all the cars at?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
I know what the agency I am.
Okay.
Dispatch can see exactly where you are and why you've been sitting there for so long.
Wow. So if you put off to the side and you and another
So if
officer
you're
just kind of
asleep at
chatting.
like 2:00 in the morning, like you've been asleep for an hour.
But my agency says they don't track our cars. That's what they say.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility, like if you're under investigation or whatever, then it's a possibility your car can be.
And you won't know.
tracked. You won't know.
No.
Wow.
So that's management.
Right. I mean, I guess it's kind of funny that in the what was like, I guess, 70s and like 80s, you had the Black Panther Party that was kind of policing the police. You know what I'm saying? They were kind of like managing the police to make sure that they were doing what they thought was right. How would y'all feel if something like that started happening again? Like if like, let's say like a organization just kind of crunk up and was like, you know what, we gonna follow the police around all day and like make sure that they doing what they supposed to do. I mean, cause this is a thing, like that's some of a part of what the Black Panther Party did. And you know, they had their reasons for doing so, and it probably saved some lives. I mean, it probably caused some issues too. But it also saved lives. And so I don't know if the climate now calls for anything like that, but I think it would be interesting to see something like that happen. You know?
If something like that was to start up again, there would definitely be some issues.
Absolutely.
I think they're doing enough right now with the social media posts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You think
social
Because
that's-
if you
media,
think about
body
it, that's
cams.
almost like policing the police.
No, that's
right
exactly what
there,
it is.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly what
and
it
you
is.
know, it's the ignorance of people. A lot of it is, not all of it. Please don't get me misunderstood.
No worries.
But there is definitely those that are just posting things that they think is wrong, and it's all ignorance. You know, they don't know that what you're posting is actually in benefit of the police.
I mean,
they're really not doing anything wrong. They're really doing their job.
I kind of thought
Look
the
at
same
person.
way before I actually, got into law enforcement.
Yeah.
I just look at the
Right.
the videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And thought, that's one of the reasons why I didn't want, because I didn't want to worry about what people, was going to think of me, stuff like that. And yeah, you're a police officer, and they may think that I agree with some of the things that were going on. But once I got into the actual field and I, gained more knowledge about, the background of what you can and can't do, then a lot of those things were justified,
Right.
And I'm not saying all of them were, I'm not saying there isn't, excessive force going on in like these types of agencies.
Yeah.
But I just, like you said, you just have to be knowledgeable and stuff like that.
Agreed, man. Very good. Very, very good. That's some good info, man. I think all of that could definitely benefit all of us. I mean, like I said before, like I'm just as ignorant as anybody else. I mean, luckily I have the two of you to ask questions. And I appreciate both of you for coming on the podcast and talking a little bit about what you do and your experiences or whatever. So we can move on to the book now. If you all want to have anything else in regards to law enforcement that you want to share or talk about, you can do that. Maybe no, yes, no. I'm not. I mean, because
I don't know,
the options are wide. Whatever y'all
Right.
feel like. If y'all want to talk about something else, we can do that. If you want to like give like another story or mention something else, we can do that. But if not, we can move into the book. Zach, anything?
No, I just want to because I don't know the who this podcast may reach, but the most common occurrence run-ins that people have with law enforcement is on traffic stops. All right, and I tell you, politeness goes a long way when dealing with law enforcement officer. Again, they have
As a citizen.
As a citizen,
Yeah.
yes, they have lots of discretion.
Yeah.
So, a police officer approaches your car, and saying, just be polite, give them what they're asking for, you can ask why you are being stopped. Don't try to argue on side of the street because that's not the place where they're going to argue with you. I know in my career, I will tell you quickly, this is not the place where we're going to discuss this. I'll see you in court.
Right.
That's where we're going to discuss it at.
Okay.
If you're getting a ticket, you don't even know if you're getting a
Right.
citation.
That's
You
true.
know what I mean? But we're so quick to pop off at the mouth. And I think that's a lot of times that's when, that officer automatically makes up in his mind, if he's that type of officer.
What's gonna happen that day.
Right. Who issues based on the person's attitude. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because I've had situations where, citizens that developed attitudes with me for stopping them because I noticed that she was breastfeeding a baby while driving.
Wow, driving.
She has an attitude with me, right?
Because she breastfeeding a baby while driving.
Breastfeeding a baby while
Wow.
driving, and
What?
and I was like,
I don't know.
really?
People,
Like,
people,
I
And she
really
wanted to
don't-
argue with you.
I really don't
Oh my
understand, man.
God.
We're not
I hate
about
when
to
people
argue.
are dead out wrong. They still trying to argue.
Still trying to
like
argue.
lady, really.
But even if you're speeding, you know what I'm saying? Even if you are speeding, you know, it's officer's discretion if he's going to give you a citation. You know, maybe this is just your good day. I just want to stop you and give you this warning, okay?
Right, slow you down a little
just
bit.
to slow you down, okay? Let you to reorient you to the speed limit sign and let you know that was your
Reorient.
warning.
I like that.
You know, reorient you. You know what I'm saying? You're going 50 and a 35. That 35 you just passed, that's your warning, okay? If I see you again, you pass that 35, you're going 50.
Yeah.
You know, you've been warned twice. Here's your citation.
What you want me to
You know
do?
what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
just take it as it comes. Be cordial, be polite, given what's requested. Don't make a ignorant. Don't make yourself look bad or make the situation worse than what it already is.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it. And no, there are not quotas in law enforcement.
Yeah, they aren't.
They are.
No.
They are illegal.
They're
There aren't-
illegal.
We
They
don't
are
have
illegal.
quotas.
Quotas are illegal in law
Yes,
enforcement?
they are.
I did not know that.
But one thing I want to say is I just wanted to suggest to people who want to know more about law enforcement and the ins and outs of law enforcement. I say just do a ride along. Do a ride along with your local police
You can do that?
agency. Yeah.
Like casually, like, hey, I want to ride along. And they'll be like, all right, come on.
Yeah, you gotta do a background check and stuff like that, but still.
But that's
So
what
if
I'm
you
saying.
have warrants.
Right. You might not want to say that. Right?
just do a ride along with
Word? I did not know you
Yeah.
could just casually do a ride along. So like you just contact like your local PD.
just
and
go
they be
into contact them. They'll to talk you through the steps of what you gotta do. It's not even hard. Just fill out like one piece of paper, do a background check, then maybe the background check doesn't take that long. Maybe 24 hours, maybe.
Yeah. And you just go right
in-
along.
Yeah, just learn the ins and outs of what a police officer does, in his daily,
I did not know that, bro.
workout, and
That's
then
dope.
you can, have some type of knowledge of exactly what we go through and the stress level of the job
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
That's a very good idea, man.
right. I think it'll kind of bridge the gap between the community and
Right.
and what people think police actually do. Because a lot of people, I get questions all the time, like when I tell them what I am, whatever. They just ask me, so do you just write tickets all day? I'm like, no, that's like 10% of the job.
Yeah,
like I don't
right.
even like writing tickets. I don't like pulling people over.
Yeah.
I can go a whole day without pulling someone over if I wanted to.
Be all good.
Right.
That's
So-
what's up, man. I think so. Like even when we talk about like racism, a lot of psychologists and even scientists feel like it's harder to dislike or hate someone when you know them. You know what I'm saying? And so like I feel like people getting to know a little bit more about law enforcement and law enforcement officers, you kind of develop like a more personal relationship with not only like the officer but like the position as well, maybe if they have a better understanding of what your day-to-day life is like in that capacity. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that I think a lot of the hype is kind of making people like defensive, and so I understand some of it, but at the end of the day, like we're all still people, you know what I'm saying? And we're all still just kind of doing our jobs and trying to make it to the end of the day, and being defensive doesn't really help. Like if I get pulled over and like I'm automatically defensive, towards the cop that's, trying to do whatever, I think it can only make the situation worse. You know what I'm saying? Especially if he's not having a good day.
It is going to be the situation.
Right. Like you're probably gonna make the
And I
situation
think
a little worse.
it is.
Right. Like if he come up to the window and you pop off, it's like, all right, this is where we're going. Right. This is where we're going. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, man. I appreciate y'all. Did you feel anything in there you wanted to talk about? Or
With the book,
in the book? Yeah.
I'm good.
You got a question?
Yeah. You got the book?
Oh, here.
You didn't find it?
I found the question.
Okay.
On the same page, but I mean, you can go first.
It don't matter. We only do one.
Oh, we're only going to. Oh,
Yeah,
both
we
of
wanna
us
do
have to
one.
answer the same
Yeah.
question.
I mean, read it. What does it say?
Oh, okay. It says, would you want to have your rate of physical aging slowed so much that barring some accident, you live for 1,000 years?
Read that one more time.
Would you want to have your rate of physical aging slowed so much, barring some accident,
Okay.
you'd live for 1,000 years?
Okay. So basically, would you want to age so slow?
that you live for
That you
1,000
live
years.
for 1,000 more years.
Like, assuming nothing happens, like nobody shoots
Right,
you
no
or anything,
accidents
nobody
or
kills
anything
you.
like that. Exactly.
You live for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. I mean, youth is great. I have that issue sometimes too. Like
1,000 years
sometimes
is a long time.
that's a long ass time. That is a long time. But sometimes parts of me fear getting old. Parts of me, like when you wake up in the morning, like your knees aching a little bit, your back a little hunched over. You know what I'm saying? Like, and granted, we're not even that old. And
Just feel old.
yeah, but you also have to acknowledge like the benefits of aging. But we get y'all's input on that. What y'all think?
I mean, a part of me says yes, and a part of me says no.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to because,
No.
like friends, they're going to, die off. Then eventually you're just going to be on
Just
this,
your ass.
yeah, just going to be on the earth just by yourself. And no one wants to, be on the earth by themselves. Well, granted, you can, meet new people and stuff like that. But
they're not gonna hang out with you.
friendships.
Right.
But you're going to be 900 years old. Who wants to hang out with a 9?
Well, I guess if you're aging slower, then you'd
But you
still
still-
look like 25 for a long time. Like you look 25 for like what, like 100 years?
Maybe.
Oh, wow.
Like 70 years you look 25, and then 70 more years you look 26.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Listen,
I would not want to live to
1,000.
I would not want to live 1,000 more years. Who's to say Earth will be here another 1,000 years?
Right.
But I mean, the way global warming and everything else is affecting this economy, I don't
Maybe.
know. But in addition to that, like you mentioned, family, friends, everyone that
Everybody
you
died.
once knew is now gone.
Yeah.
And all you have is like great
Yourself.
And you,
great
my great granddad is still hanging
great
out.
relatives, you know what I'm saying? And we can't even relate to each other.
No.
Because,
Yeah, you
it's
can't.
like, what's up?
You gain so much knowledge and experience.
right. No one's going to listen to you because they're going to think,
Right.
you're crazy.
I mean, you probably
Because
would
you
be.
have all the knowledge in the world.
Right,
You're like
basically.
the oldest person on earth.
I wonder if it would be different if like let's say like you just aged slow. Like let's say you still lived to be, I mean, because the average age now is what, like 70, 75?
Maybe.
That's like for average people. So let's say you were still gonna die at the age of 75, but you just aged as slow and like at that rate, that to the point where you would live to be 1,000. So like let's say it started today and you looked 25 until you were 50, and then like the next 25 years you looked like you were 30. Like, would you be cool with that?
That's cool.
You roll with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
No, I'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
You'll still live the same, but you just
Right.
look
You just
younger.
look-
But
you don't
I'm
look
still living
older.
1,000 years.
No.
No.
You still die at 75.
75 still look young.
Right.
Yeah,
You still look young.
So basically, you're not aging in your physical appearance, but you're aging in years. Just only years.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna do that anyway because I already
Shut
look young. And,
You might. Your face, at least.
Right.
That's about it. Them knees ain't gonna make it, cuz.
Like my niece was popping
I thought-
earlier.
Real talk.
Today.
I'm fine, bro. Yeah.
But
That's an interesting one, man. But now y'all do another one. One more.
another question.
Yeah, do one more.
I'll pick one.
Just sleep your ass. Yeah, I swear it rained and niggas just fold, boy.
It's cozy downstairs.
You just sat on that beanbag. That's what happened. We sure going?
Don't hurt me.
If by sacrificing your life you could contribute so much to humanity that you'd be honored everywhere, would you? If so, what if you knew your sacrifice would go unrecognized and the credit would go to someone you detested?
Wow.
My
Wow.
offices.
That's a rough one. Read it one more time.
Okay. If by sacrificing your life you could contribute so much to humanity that you'd be honored everywhere, would you?
Okay.
If so, what if you knew your sacrifice would go unrecognized and the credit would go to someone you detested?
Yikes. So you do something so great that the world just thinks like you're just awesome.
Right.
But no one would know that it was you.
Right.
And whoever you don't like the most in the world would get all the credit.
Right.
But you helped humanity so much.
Right.
Is that worth it?
I mean, you won't know this though, because you'll be
Well, because you died.
right. 'Cause you died, so you won't know
That's
that.
gonna be a no for me, bro. That's gonna be a no for me, bro.
Right, because you, even though you won't know the person, you know, they're glorifying whatever that someone you know you despise us, whatever. But in the same token, you won't know that you're a sacrifice. Well, you, I guess before you die, you think in your mind that hey,
Yeah, because you're making the decision to do
right,
it.
you're making the decision that it's going to be gratifying for humanity.
Yeah.
But
like-
so if you can go out like that, knowing that hey,
You're doing
my
a good
decision
thing.
is going to better humanity, to society.
Yeah.
Would you still do it? Because you don't know this person is getting all the credit. And if you say no, then basically you're just doing that to get
The
recognition.
glory?
Yeah,
Oh, so this will make you like selfish kind of.
yeah.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, well, I think I'm gonna say that I'm selfish in that situation.
right.
I think I'm selfish.
Maybe I'm selfish.
Especially if I don't know. I mean, of course I will know.
Before you do it.
Before I do
technically,
it,
right. Yeah. But you're not reaping any of the benefits.
I'm not reaping any benefits, and
Does it matter like if you have children or not?
I just don't trust that process. I don't
doesn't
trust
say
that
that
I will
about
get it
children.
anyways.
It matters for you if you have children?
Because
You say it matters for you?
I'm saying that's not part of the question.
I'm saying, but like, let's say, so like, let's say you're a 70-year-old man, right?
But
And-
70, well,
All right, let's say you're a 70-year-old
I
man.
lived
and
my
you
life
have,
then.
Yeah. And so like, let's
no,
say
just
you have,
say now.
hypothetically speaking,
Okay, go ahead.
right? If you have kids, you know, you kind of like started a legacy. And so if whatever you do is going to help them, because they're part of humanity, in the long run, let's say for the next 1,000 years, like you do something, like you create some form of renewable energy, but you got to like stand in the way and block it and like you die. I don't know, some Marvel type shit, right?
Right, some iRobot type shit.
Yeah. Let's say that's the case. And you know, like they benefit from it some kind of way. Does that change any of your answer? Old age or helping your children?
I don't know. I'm kind of with Zach. I kind of want the recognition now.
Right.
I kind of want that under my belt.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Call me selfish.
You sticking with that, Zach?
I'm sticking with it.
Zach
That's my
ain't
story, and I'm
budge.
sticking with
Especially
it.
if it's somebody I don't like.
Does that make it worse?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess some people I don't
Definitely.
like.
Okay, if it's just like a random person,
Right.
Like with my friends, okay, he got that's
Somebody
cool.
you like, the
But if I
person you
don't-
don't like the most in the world.
right, like Donald Trump get the
Wow.
recognition.
And then like they get like statues built to them
Yeah,
and like
nah.
super worshipped. And
I'm Gucci.
yeah, it's gonna be a no for me.
It's no for me, dog.
Cool, man. We good with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, we gonna wrap it up, man. Well, I appreciate both of you for coming and speaking on your personal experiences. I'm pretty sure tons of people are gonna be able to, benefit from that. And even if not, I think I appreciate both of you doing what you can to, educate the masses and essentially protect the masses with your lives. That's really sweet, right? All right, man.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate everybody out there for listening to another episode of The Apple Tree.